Good morning, everyone. Hey, I thought I'd shoot a quick video and send it out about this coronavirus. It's making the news. I saw here now the Bloomberg is running that it's affecting global markets, and I thought, wow, it might be a nice thing to kind of share a few points with everybody on. So here's some really quick points I think you might find interesting. First of all, this coronavirus is not the coronavirus you get after too many coronas after the Super Bowl. Would be nice because that would go away after a day. This virus is actually a very common virus. It's had around for a long time. It's nothing new. The common cold virus, ARDS, MERS, MERS. There's several viruses in the past that are coronavirus based. This is just a new version of it. It's interesting that most of these viruses actually originate in animals. In the past, and this particular one actually they think originated from bats. In the past we've seen them come from camels, animals like that. So I thought that was an interesting fact. If we have this, if it's really like the common cold virus, why is this one so special? And the reason is it's just particularly virulent. By that, what I mean is it tends to make a decent amount of people get very sick. Now, by a decent amount, what is that? Well, about 4%, 3 to 4% of people who actually get infected with coronavirus have the potential of ending up in an ICU. 3 to 4% is not very many, but when you think about something like the common cold, even potentially putting you in an ICU, you can imagine then why we take this one so seriously. Now here's the good news. Here in the United States so far, we've only had 4 states reporting it. Illinois, California, we haven't had a single one here yet, Arizona, and what's the other state? Trying to blank on the other state. In any case, 4 states, about 11 cases as of yesterday that they've reported. They've tested over 260 people for this to get 11 cases. There's about, the CDC reports that there's about 80 some testing cases that are out for testing that they still don't have results back on yet. Predominantly, to be at risk for this, you have to be near someone who's traveled to China or exposed to someone who has. Maybe you were in a similar airplane or a similar stop as they were. And as most of the cases, of course, are originating there, that's why that's the major risk factor. The cases are doubling over in China almost daily. That's how it spreads. And let's actually talk about how it spreads. So first of all, you might find this interesting. The average sneeze or cough has about 100,000 virus particles in it. So yeah, a simple sneeze or cough, 100,000 virus particles out into the air. And you might ask, well, if you're close to a sneeze or cough, how close do you have to be? Within 6 feet, you tend to be particularly exposed to those droplets, but within 13 feet, many of the droplets will exit someone's mouth at over 100 miles per hour. Now, the reason there's a kind of a buffer zone there of 6 to 13 feet and not knowing are the particle sizes that people cough or sneeze are of various sizes, of course, and that would determine how long they would stay in the air. Very small particle sizes, like very, very micron small hair-like particle sizes, can stay in the air literally hours to days. They keep getting whiffed up by a little, almost like you'd see like a little piece of lint in the air. And they can stay hours to days in the air, whereas larger particles will fall to the ground rather quickly. Once the virus is on the ground, it's not particularly strong necessarily. Most of the studies have shown that these viruses will live several hours once they touch a surface. And so that means there's several ways to get something like the coronavirus. One is through touching a surface and then, of course, touching yourself. And we actually don't realize this, but any mucous membrane surface you touch your mouth, your nose, or your eyes after touching the surface, you can transmit the virus to yourself that way. The average person, by the way, will touch their face, their eyes, their nose, or their mouth 16 times per hour. So that is the number one way that people are getting this, is probably from touching surfaces. There is that inhalation of droplet part of this as well, of transmission, which is why the length of time the droplets stay in the air and what you inhale is so important. Now, as I said, 100,000 particles shot out into the air with a standard sneeze. It takes about 1,000 of those particles to actually get infected. Now, the actual average amount of particles per droplet is about 50. So you have to get quite a few droplets in to then become infected. So it's it's still a bit of a process, and that's probably why we only have 11 cases. So how does coronavirus present? It doesn't present like that headache post too many coronas. It presents literally like everything else you've ever had. Fever, cough, maybe sore throat, headache, maybe a little achy. Doesn't that sound like just about any virus you've ever had? Well, that's coronavirus, and that's why it's so difficult to tell, and that's why many people run in to be tested, and many, many people are negative. In fact, from the statistics of the amount of people that suspect they have it to those who actually are later diagnosed with it, the odds are less than 0.3%. That means there's probably 300 people out there who think, ooh, is this coronavirus, when actually only one of them may indeed have it. And again, so far in the United States, only about 4 states. Now let's talk quickly then about, you know the symptoms, you know how it spread, you know a little bit about the virus's history, and this originates in animals and such. Keep in mind that the spread of this has really occurred over about 2 weeks. I think the first case of this was about the 20th or so of January. So we're about 2 weeks into this. The first person-to-person spread. See, some of these viruses won't spread person-to-person. This one has been documented to do that. That first person-to-person spread virus was actually documented right at the end of January, I believe about the 30th. So it's only been about a week here where we know for certain that it goes person-to-person. And that's talking about how do you prevent it. Well, remember, a lot of people say, oh, well, cover your mouth. Well, if you're not infected, covering your mouth when you sneeze or cough, well, you might help prevent somebody else from getting another virus. It has nothing to do with the coronavirus. Things you can do if you're around someone who's sneezing or coughing, or you're out in a public place and you want to prevent getting it, there are a few simple things. One is the obvious: wash your hands. You have to have a solution, an alcohol-based solution. Typically, as physicians, we tell people at least 60% alcohol. Remember that rub time really matters. At least 15 seconds of rub time. If you're washing your hands in a sink, at least 30 seconds in a sink with good soapy water will keep the hands clean from any surface they may have touched. As far as inhalation goes, I like to just pack a simple scarf with me wherever I go somewhere. If I'm in a tight quarters or somewhere, there's a lot of people. Maybe if you were traveling on an airplane, you might, I'm sure some people would wear masks. Another way, you can just wear a simple scarf, and oftentimes that will help as well prevent transmission. So it's washing hands, it's other people or anyone really, good hygiene with covering your mouth. Remember, covering your mouth is not with your hand, and we're always taught that, cover your mouth. Remember, try to always cough into an elbow, into clothing or something of that sort to really capture any droplets. Again, the inhalation, such. Those are really the big ways to help prevent getting it. And then of course not exposing yourself. Certainly now is not the time to be traveling to China. Any tight quarters, such as being on an airplane that is coming from those foreign countries, would of course predispose you to substantial risk. So I hope that helps a little bit about the coronavirus fear that's affecting markets, that's scaring everybody. Again, yes, it's serious. Overall, odds of killing you if you were infected, less than a few percent. Odds of getting it here in the United States right now, very, very slim. But certainly something that we all need to know a little bit more about. So thank you for listening today. I hope this helped. Maybe I'll do another one of these on, other than the medicine, I'll do something on the law associated with it and how people bring lawsuits for viruses that they catch. And there's some interesting cases on that. You take care. Have a great day. Enjoy this snow day here in Colorado. Bye-bye now.